Hello children, I hope you all are good. Once again I am here with a new and very interesting topic of Indian history, that is reforms and women. And in this chapter we are going to study about the women condition which was prevailing in the previous time and how the condition of women reformed, and now in modern era what condition and what freedom we are enjoying. So basically in this chapter we are going to discuss about the women condition. Now let's start the chapter. Reforming 19th century Indian society. See beta, if I am talking about 19th century, so year is 1800 something, because century always move ahead. So 19th century mein there were so many social evils prevailing in the Indian society, like we were the superstitious also, tough discrimination we have seen against the women, and the institutionalized inequality that were there in the Indian society. These evils went with the sternly layered one by one, and the social structure was also discriminated on the caste basis. If we are going to discuss about the social evils, there were so many social evils prevailing in the society. Number one, the female infanticides was there. Female baby was not accepted. Child marriage was prevailing. Sati Pratha was prevailing in the Hindu society. Caste system was dominating in the society. Child marriage that was common everywhere, and widow remarriage was not allowed. It was prohibited. So from the early decades, if you can see in the 19th century, some broad-minded people in the Indian society, they felt that there is a requirement to shut down this backwardness. There is a requirement to enlighten the society. There is a requirement to break down these traditions which is not good for the Indian society. Since several of the social evils and superstitions were very closely connected to the religious belief, and social reform movement also had overtones of the religious reform. So it was quite not easy to break down or to stop this evil practices, because it touched the sentiment, religious sentiment of the orthodoxy people. Now few educated people from the middle class, they started to participate or to start some reform movement which really underlined the transition of the Indian society. Now from the medieval to the modern age, we can see the tremendous change in the Indian society. Indian religion or Indian society, Indian culture, they underwent the remarkable and variation of the changes. In the prominent, if you are going to see among the movement, whatever the movement started at that time for the reformation of the Indian society, that was the there were so many society like Arya Samaj, Brahma Samaj, Ramkishan Mission, Aligarh movement. Several movements were there to reform the society. So let's discuss first the position of the women in 19th century India. From as early as 1000 BC, means if you are going to move from 0, this is the 0, okay, if you are going to see the time period, so 0 say today we are at the 2023, and I am talking about BC, means 0 say before, at here somewhere 1000 BC, 0 say 1000 BC. The fortunes of Indian womanhood went down into the slow decline. If you can see the position of India at the Vedic time, women enjoy the equality during the Vedic period. But this was followed by 2000 years of deterioration. After the Vedic period, where the women enjoy the equality and the freedom, after this, gradually and slowly, with the passage of time, women's conditions deteriorated, declined. In fact, before a slow recovery followed, women's status hit rock by starting the medieval period. You can see in the medieval period, great destruction of the women's status. That was declining period of the women was the medieval period. Alternation in the patriarchal society of the system, then improvement in education, then widow remarriage, age of marriage, various laws and custom, and acceptance of women economic power all played role in reviving the long last status of Indian women. Once this declined, Immediate after, the social reformer work on all these things. Whether the demand for women's reform came from the colonial rule or from any educated generation, the concern was that women's status should be equal in the society. We need the planned solution for the reform of the women. If we are going to unraveling the past, Indian society gives the effect of always having been a patriarchal society. We don't have a maternal society. We are following the patrilineage. Moving from the Vedic society to the Puranic Hindu society, women tough capable to occupy the highest position. Now what happened? That we are following father's patrilineal lineage. Father, then son, then son, then son. We are not following the matrilineal lineage. If you are going to discuss the social evil, so beta in the early period of Muslim rule, the status of women declined. It suffered a lot. At that time there was a polygamy. Polygamy means the one man can marry with the many women. Parda pratha and child marriage. What the Hindu decided during the Muslim rule, they decided that their women should save. They want to protect their women. So what they decided? They decided that marry them at a young age, so that no one can destroy their respect. So that's why Hindu community decided to marry the women, the girl at the early age, keeping them in the parda, so that no Muslim ruler, no Muslim soldier or another people can see them or watch them. And even polygamy, which signifying marrying one then girl on a Hindu man, means that was also, it signifying marrying more than one girl to a Hindu man. That was also started. And then after that, sati. Hindu religious scriptures do not instruct widow to commit the sati. The reason why this practice could have come into being are uncertain, but close examination of this practice of immolation support this inference that a halo of honor was attached to this system. What happened? During the medieval period, sati was given the status of an act of honor. But if you are going to past of the Hindu religion, it was not allowed. But in medieval period, it made as the honor. Since the medieval period onwards up to coming of the British, the position of women in society was not secure. However, during the Mughal period also, the situation of women was not good, but their insecurity increased day after day after day after the demise of their husband. Means once the husband died, who is going to protect the lady? They are not secure in the society, whether it's the Islamic states or whether it's the British rule. So to protect them, what they decided? Practice of the sati pratha. That after the death of the husband or the funeral pyre of the husband, the women will burn alive. That is the inhuman practice of sati pratha. And the reason what they had given? To protect the women. All effort to irrigate it were bound to fail. But with the passing of the medieval ages, the entry of the industrial age under the British, the newly emerged intelligentsia in India society made the concert to effort to stamp it out. Means whenever the people started to educate themselves, then they decided this inhuman practice of sati pratha should abolished. Now what happened? According to the Hindu mythology, Daksha's wife Sati was so overcome at the death of her husband that she immolated herself on his funeral pyre. Until that time, the Sati Pratha has become the common custom. Now moving to the child marriage. Child marriage was essentially defensive reaction on the part of insecure Hindu society. Reason always given that why we are doing the child marriage, why at early age the girls had been married to the boy or the man, to protect for the security of the girls, they are practicing this child marriage. Not only among the poor section but also in the wealthy classes, it was the usual custom. In most of the cases, children were married during the infant stages also. This was also a curse. Though the reason they are giving that we are going to protect the women or the girl child, we don't think so. This is the correct reason to practice this inhuman tradition. Now moving to the widow remarriage. If you are going to see this widow remarriage, due to the prevalence of the child marriage and polygamy in Hindu society, they faced up this problem. There are so many young widows. Old upper caste wealthy men often got married to the young girls, and after their death, their young widows were forced to live in isolation, separate life, under so many restrictions. The life of these widows was used to be social limitation. They were not allowed to come out in the society. They were not allowed to attend any culture, any tradition, any good tradition, marriage procession, anything. They were allowed to remain in isolation in a hut with the simple life. Lots of human torture and exploitation to the widow. Then widow's remarriage was prohibited in the Indian society, particularly among the Brahmins and other upper caste. Now let's discuss the age of consent. Because due to the child marriage, there was the increase in the number of widow also. Now there were various attempts have been made even by the state also and by the social reformer also to do away this evil of early child marriage. Now what happened? There was the legal action taken. In 1901, the Gaikwads of Baroda, they had passed the Infant Marriage Prevention Act. This act was passed in 1901 by the Gaikwads, and they fixed the minimum marriageable age in the state for the girls, and that age was 12 years for girls, and for boys the minimum age of marriage was 16 years. Now the age of consent committee also met at a Shimla in June 1928 to inquire into this matter, the questioning of the marriage reforms and marriage system. After the recommendation of Rai Sahab, Harbilas, Sharda Child Marriage Restraint Act was passed. Means previously it was 12 years for girls and 16 years for boys to marry. Now after the passing of this Sharda Child Marriage Restraint Act in 1929, it was also known as Sharda Act. It laid down the minimum age of marriage for girls 14 years. Let's say the improvement happened 2 years more, 14 years for girls and the boys 16 years to do the marriage. Now the British brought with them their distinctive culture and technology, which also impacted the social reformation. For example, the social reformation helped or benefited the women a lot. Before the British, many Indian rulers and Indian leaders also, such as Akbar, Jahangir, Guru Ram Das Ji, Marathas, Peshwa, they have also tried to discourage the discrimination against the women. They even took the strict action to eradicate these social evils, the practice of the sati. Finally, the colonial state when joined the hands with the legalization and with the Indian intelligentsia led by the Satalwards such as Raja Ram Mohan Roy to modernize and to reform the Indian society, these evils somewhere vanished. Now moving to the reform movements and colonial legalization. First, we are going to discuss about the Bengal society. British rule led to the emergence of new social classes in India. This class was liberal in its outlook. Means they are the broad-minded, not the conservative, and they drew its inspiration from the intellectual, the currents prevailing in other parts of the world. They started to educate themselves. They started to inspire themselves with the other revolution or other changing in the other part of the world. What happened in the 19th century, Bengal went through a process of general social ferment. Now, out of this turmoil emerged many socio-religious reforms and reformers also, such as at that time Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Keshav Chandra Sen, these were the great social reformer emerged from there. We are going to discuss about the Raja Ram Mohan Roy and his Brahma Samaj. He was the pioneer in the introducing reforms for the women through the Brahma Samaj. Raja Ram Mohan Roy, when he received the traditional education in Sanskrit in Banaras. Banaras means present day Varanasi. And then he also get the education in Arabic, Persian at Patna. He came in the contact with the British also. English language he also learned. He had burning desire to bring about many reforms in the society. Means he was the intellectual, he was a great learner, he was keen interested to learn the different language and different laws in societies, etc. And on the other hand, he also want that the Indian society also develop. There is a need to reform the Indian society, and basically for the welfare of the women he worked a lot. He devoted his life a lot. He founded the Brahma Samaj in 1828. Many social evil at that time directly outcome of prevailing of the superstitious belief of the people. He attacked on those superstitious belief by his intellectuality, by his education. Its most glaring example was the dreadful practice of Sati Pratha, which he worked a lot to eradicate this Sati Pratha from Indian society. Hindu widows would immolate themselves on the funeral pyre of her husband. This is very wrong. To earn a lasting place in the heaven, they have to burn themselves. To Ram Mohan Roy, Sati was a grave crime which needed to be eradicated. So in 1829, he moved by a public outcry led by Ram Mohan Roy against the practice, and then Governor General Lord William Bentinck also supported him and made a law, and it was now become the punishable act if anybody is going to make Sati the widow. Apart from Sati, Ram Mohan Roy also raised his voice against the seclusion of the women, that is the Parda system. Polygamy, that was also wrong, and the abuses of the caste system. He also pleaded for the education of women, to educate women so that they can enlighten themselves. Widow remarriage should be there, and he also worked for the abolition of untouchability. Now after Raja Ram Mohan Roy, we are going to discuss about another great social reformer, that is Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Another jewel among the reformers in the Indian society. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Vidyasagar was moved by the plight of young widows. He opposed both polygamy and as well as the child marriage. He always suggested that the Hindu society should allow remarriage of the widows. Why widows are giving such a worst condition in the society? To show his compassion for the widows, what he did, he got his own son married to a widow. He has set up an example in front of the society what will happen. And that's why he did this, that his son married to a widow. He played an important role in passing the Widow Remarriage Act and also in the first widow remarriage ceremony performed in Calcutta in 1856. He was there. He also advocated there should be the introduction of modern subjects with the Sanskrit learning. He devoted his life for spreading the education, particularly among the girls and the downtrodden people of the society. He said, with the education only, people can enlighten themselves, uplift themselves and become the part of the good society. He is said to be the originator of the modern Bengali language. So that was the role of Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Now beta, we are going to discuss about the another great leader of the India, that is Swami Vivekananda and the Ramakrishna mission. Among the educated young men, very enthusiastic, very intellectual, who were attracted to the teaching of the Ramakrishna, he was a young man called Narendranath, who later known as Swami Vivekananda. Means the original name was Narendranath. You can see in the picture Swami Vivekananda. Vivekananda founded the Ramakrishna Mission on the name of his guru, which helped in the reconstruction of the society in many ways. His Ramakrishna Mission preaches harmony among all the religious groups. He wanted that women should uplift in the society. He urged, he requested people to respect women while himself working for the women's education and upliftment. Vivekananda's disciple was Sister Nivedita. You can see in this image Sister Nivedita. She was an Anglo-Irish social worker. She worked very hard, for the upliftment of the women in India. Sister Nivedita opened the girls' school at Bagh Bazaar in Calcutta. She laid much emphasis on the social service and respect for women in the society. She was champion of humanism. She fought for the empowerment of women for all caste, creed and background. She wanted that women should have a good status in the society. Then we are moving to the another social reformer. He was the Keshav Chandra Sen. The time period has been given 1838 to 1884. Keshav Chandra Sen laid stress on the social reform, basically female education. These people want that the female education should be there. Girls should teach. They should given these facilities. Inter-education, intercaste marriages, widow remarriage. He also worked very hard. He condemned the social evils like child marriage and polygamy and casteism. He said that everyone is equal in the society. Why there is a discrimination on the name of caste or on the name of gender? Even he criticized and strongly criticized the child marriage. He played a very important role in the passing of the Marriage Act 3 of 1872. He worked tirelessly for the emancipation of the Indian women. Through his Brahmo Bandhu Sabha, he launched a fierce struggle in the favor of women's education. Even he was instrumental in passing the Native Marriage Act. See, Keshav Chandra ke time pe there were so many acts were passed for the women welfare. Native Marriage Act 3, 1872, which legalized intercaste marriages allowed, widow remarriages allowed, child marriage prohibited, polygamy prohibited, and he gave a legal sanction to the divorce also. So education, emancipation of women was at the forefront of his program. On his death, Max Muller said, India has lost her most eminent son. You can imagine or you can realize the importance of Keshav Chandra Sen with this one statement. Now moving to the Maharashtra, where Swami Dayanand Saraswati worked very hard and established the Arya Samaj. Swami Dayanand Saraswati, he was the founder of Arya Samaj. When he was only 22 years of age, he became the sannyasi, as you can see in this picture. And he roamed from place to place in search of truth. He was following the reforms took place in the society. When he founded the Arya Samaj denounced the society. He told whosoever the member of Arya Samaj, he will not practice the sati pratha. It resulted in the decline of sati. It advocated widow remarriage should be there. Widows should not exploited, not given the worst condition. It was greatly opposed to the child marriage. Even it set up orphanages and widows ashram also. And the Arya Samaj laid the great emphasis on the women's education also. So we can say Swami Dayanand Saraswati believed if the women will study as much as entitled to the study, the Vedas, as you had given the right to men to study the Veda, why not the girls, the women are having right to study the Veda? So please give them right to educate. Then we are moving to the Pratna Samaj. Pratna Samaj was started in Bombay in 1867. And the chief architect behind the Pratna Samaj was Mahadev Govind Ranade. He worked very lot, and along with him Ramkrishna Bhandarkar. These two people worked very hard behind the Pratna Samaj. This Pratna Samaj laid stress on the upliftment of the masses education for female, abolition of the Parda Pratha, remarriages of the widow, and started the night school also for the working people. Gopal Krishna Gokhale later on joined this Samaj in 1885, and he and Ranade founded Indian Social Conference in 1887, and they declared that no progress was possible in India unless Hindu and Muslim unite themselves, join hand and work together. See beta, all these social reformers worked hard, tirelessly for the upliftment of the widows, upliftment of the girls, female education, and to stop all evil practices from the Indian society. After this, we are going to discuss about the Gopal Hari Deshmukh, Lokhetwadi and Jyoti Rao Govindra Phule. They worked for the upliftment of downtrodden and the women. In 1848, they started schools for girls and low caste children. Especially आपका Jyoti Rao Govindra Phule, his wife Savitri Bai Phule, she also worked very hard for the girls' education. Then we are having so many other reformers also who set up an example in the Indian society to uplift the Indian people. Number 1, Ruqayya Shekhawat Hussain, 1818 to 1932. Ruqayya Shekhawat Hussain, she was born in 1880 in Bengal. She belonged to the Muslim family, and Ruqayya was not allowed to study. Fortunately, she was able to persuade her brother to teach her Bengali and English, and brother helped her secretly to teach Bengali, English, Urdu, Arabic at home. Means she was so curious to learn many languages, and all these languages secretly she has learned with the help of her brother. In 1896, she was married to the magistrate called Khan Bahadur Shekhawat Hussain from Bhagalpur in Bihar. See, she married with the barrister or magistrate. Then what happened? From this, Ruqayya set up a school for girls in 1909 in Bhagalpur with the material and intellectual support of her husband, because her husband was a judge, and that's why he helped her that yes, you can open the school for girls. After her husband's premature death, she came to Calcutta and reopened her school. So in this way, she worked a lot, and then she reopened school Shekhawat Memorial Girls School. In the time, this school was converted into the high school and became known as the pioneering institution for Muslim girls. Ruqayya was a gifted writer also. She has written the book Sultana's Dream, and in her book beta she has given that yes, women are also having a dream, also having a wing to get the freedom to do something for the society. She pleaded for the emancipation of the women of all community. She wrote number of stories and essays regarding the prevailing social taboos. In 1942, her far-sighted novel Padmarag was published, and in Padmarag, in this work, we find the realistic portrait of pioneering working women, typing, managing accounts, supervising, subordinate, teaching, in short, the full gamut of activities that women can execute. Women can be a teacher, women can be a manager, women can do anything. Just give them the wings to fly. So whatever she has written, it inspires the whole Indian society. Now the next reformer, that is Leela Nag, another women reformer. You can see in the picture. Leela contributed immensely to the intellectual, cultural awakening in the Indian society. The first female student at University of Dhaka. One marker question hai. She has done the study in Dhaka. She pioneered women's education and the women's movement in the East Bengal. In December 1923, she established Dipali Sangh, an association for women, with the main objective of this association was enhancing the women's education and dignity. She founded the school also, and the school name was Dipali School, and 12 other free primary schools with the help of Dipali Sangha. she built a Dhaka-based institution for the female student. But at that time, Dhaka was in India. Okay, it was East Bengal. Now, then many places of Assam and Bengal, she has opened the schools for the benefit of female student. Even she has opened the women hostel also in the Calcutta. If the women want to stay there and get education, they can. Leela Nag set up a fund also that known as the Mahila Atmaraksha Fund for women's self-defense, and for the one of the first martial art self-defense groups in the region. First martial art, socho, she has opened. And she also established the institution known as Gan Shiksha Parishad, Association of the Mass Education, for spreading the female education at the mass level. Then Leela's other claim why she is famous in the literary activity as editor to the influential magazine Jayashree. She devoted the women's issues. Means she act as an editor also in the newspaper and the magazine. So Leela Nag did a lot for the women empowerment. Now we are discussing about the Ramabai Ranade. In the 19th century, the condition of women was much discussed issue among the intellectual classes. Everybody was working for the women's empowerment. It was in this fluid situation, the Ramabai Ranade, she emerged on the scene with all her electrifying energy, directed towards the securing a better deal for the women of India. She was a great personality and inspiring personality. Ramabai Ranade started the Arya Mohalla Samaj and taught women from the deprived classes, backward classes, downtrodden classes. She went to America also at that time, where an association was formed to fund her school for the child widows. Coming back to India, she inaugurated the school for widows in 1889 known as Sharda Sadan in Bombay. So you can see that she first took the education, became the intellectual personality, and after that she did a lot for the women. Now moving to the Dhando Keshav Karve. In the year 1896 marks the beginning of new era in the history of women's education, women's status in India, when Dr. Dhando Keshav Karve established an ashram for widows and helpless women at Hing near the Pune. Now Karve launched a program of schooling at his ashram, which later became the regular school for the women and the girls. Karve is having the great dream to establish the Women University, and finally in July 1916 he started first college with 5 students only, but he started the college. It gradually took the shape as the Women University, and now this university is popularly known as SNDT Women University. Means he fulfilled his dream to open the university for the women. Now moving to the southern India, what happened in southern India, what type of reforms were there. So first of all, in southern India, we are going to discuss about the Ved Samaj inspired by the Brahma Samaj. Then Chembeti Srinidhu Naidu founded the Veda Samaj in 1864. This Samaj advocated the abolition of the caste system, and it promoted also the widow remarriage, women education. They also worked on that, and then they also propagated that there is only one God. There is no difference on the name of religion. They want that the superstition, the orthodoxy tradition should be banished, abolished. Naidu translated the Brahma Samaj text into the Tamil and Telugu so that the people can understand. The Veda Samaj later worked with the branches of Brahma Samaj, Pratna Samaj in Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka. So we can see this, he worked very hard for the empowerment of the society. Now we are moving to the Kundukuri Veeraslingam and Shri Narayan Guru. You can see Kundukuri Veeraslingam in the photo. So in addition to C.S. Naidu, Mahatma Jyotiba and other social reformers worked for upliftment of women, we are having one such wonderful reformer, that is Veeraslingam. Veeraslingam was inspired and influenced by the Brahma Samaj. He was born in 1848 in an orthodoxy Brahman family. But all through his life, he opposed the caste system and the low status of women. Though he belonged to the upper caste, still he opposed. Similarly, the Sri Narayan Guru of Kerala took up the caste of untouchables and worked for the upliftment of the untouchables in the society. So see, untouchables were not allowed to enter into the Hindu temple. So what he did, he built a temple near a river and that displayed the word. What he has written on the temple's wall. Here is the place where all people live in fraternity without caste distinction and religious rivalry. This is the place where everyone can enter. Everyone can live in the peace and harmony. So that was the Narayan Guru. Now moving to the Christian missionaries, what they did for the Indian society. In its early non-political phase, the East India Company refrained from interfering in the socio-religious life of the people of India. Means in the beginning they were not interested and even they did not want to enter into the Indian culture or tradition. The company had expelled William Carey for carrying a propaganda. But after the Charter Act of 1813, restriction on the immigration of missionaries to India were removed. Now what happened? Lots of missionaries enter into the Indian economy and filled with the zeal to rid Indian society of what they regarded as its backwardness and barbarism. See, they though declared us as the primitive, backward, and our traditions are the barbarism. When the Christian missionaries came to India, and the first Christian missionaries came into Bengal in 1576, and thereafter they come to the different phases in the India with the different motives. The Serampore missionaries played a crucial role in spread of education among the women in India. उसमें से among them they were William Carey, Joshua Marshman and William Ward. They started the first Baptist mission. Baptist mission you have to learn beta. In 1800 at Serampore in Bengal they have started for emancipation of the Indian women. William Ward made an appeal to his call. A women missionary he has opened, Mary Ann Cook. That women missionary came to India, Mary Ann Cook. She was the first women missionary to came to India. She opened many girls' schools for Indian girls in different part of Bengal. In 1849 AD, Bethune founded the girls' school in Calcutta. So Bethune is the another name. Now, we have discussed so many social reformers from North India to South India till the Christian missionaries. What was the impact of the reform of the movement? Whether there was something different, consequences were good or bad. So, let's discuss these impact. During the period of 1813 to 1857, the East India Company initiated some useful social reform. Number one, suppression of sati. Sati was abolished. There were 800 cases of sati in Bengal alone. It was estimated. तो इसको बैन कराया गया. Then second, the ban on female infanticide. 1795 practice was banned, but no strict measures were taken to implement the law that ban on female infanticides. So we can say this evil was boldly addressed during the administration of Lord Hardinge. In time, female infanticide was declined. But sadly, we can say still it is prevailing somewhere and another in the different part of India. Then third, suppression of human sacrifice. Lord Hardinge suppressed the practice of human sacrifice that was prevailed in the primitive tribal communities such as Gonds. They sacrificed the men. However, it took a long time to eradicate the sacrifice of men, but still he worked hard and many reformers worked hard. Then widow remarriage. So we have discussed about that. Raja Ram Mohan Rai, आपके विद्यासागर, महादेव फूले, महर्षि कारवे, these all campaigned in favor of widow remarriage. And finally in 1856, the colonial government passed an act allowing Hindu widows to remarry. Though the immediate effect of this measure was negligible, you cannot say that in a day all the changes had come in the Indian society, but yes, with the long struggle, there was a change in the Indian society, and we can see in the today's also when the women are working hard in every field of society, enjoying the freedom, enjoying the equal status in the Indian society. So this reform of the Indian society gave the way to the resilience and strength which needed to cope up with the trials and tribulation of the lay ahead. Overall, these reforms gave the new vision, the new strength to the Indian society. So that's end for the chapter. Let's do the quick revision. Number 1, what we have discussed, the early Governor General were mostly engaged in economic exploitation and political expansion. Then Lord William Bentinck took steps to abolish the child marriage, slavery and sati pratha. Then evil practice of sati mostly prevailed in Bengal, Central India and Rajputana. After that we have discussed educated Indians like Raja Ram Mohan Roy ho gaye, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar ho gaye. They worked very hard for the women causes. Then term sati literally means a pure or virtuous woman. Then we have discussed Lord William Bentinck declared sati illegal in 1829 and made it as a punishable offence. Then Bengal Regulation Act we have discussed of 1795 and 1804, where it was declared that female infanticide is illegal. After that in 1891, the marriageable age for boys and girls was 12 and 10. Then Sharda Act was passed in 1930, and then marriageable act little bit increased for boys 18 and girls 14 years. Then Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, he started the number of school for the girls, and Dadabhai Naroji worked hard in the Parsi religion, ritual and practice to reform that society. So that's end for the chapter. I hope you understand each and every topic. Now it's your turn. Do the exercise carefully.